Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all having a wonderful week. In a matter of days, Talking Tudors, my podcast, turns 6 years old. I can hardly believe it's been going for that long. So I thought in today's video I would answer a question that I get asked so commonly, and that is, do I have any tips or advice for aspiring podcasters? So that's what I'm going to look at in this video. I have 10 tips for you, 10 general lessons that I have learned in the last 6 years of podcasting, and I hope that they are useful to you if you're thinking about starting your own podcast. So, okay, my first tip, when it comes to choosing what to podcast about, please choose something that you absolutely love, that you're completely passionate about, that you are so curious about, love to learn and read everything that comes out on this particular subject. That thing that your family and friends know to ask you about if they have a question about this subject. That's what you need to start your podcast on. This is an incredibly long journey, and it's going to involve many hours of work. And at the beginning, there won't be any monetary compensation. You're going to need to sustain this through sheer love and enthusiasm for what you're doing, for just that need that you have, that compelling feeling to share what it is you love. That's going to sustain you until then. You know, when you do have an established audience, then you can start thinking about monetizing and financial compensation. But until then, you have to sustain yourself. Those energy levels will wane if you're talking about something that you're only kind of lukewarm interested in. So please don't go for that topical subject that you really don't care about. You know, I think true crime is the highest earning genre in terms of podcasting. Unless you live for true crime and love true crime, don't go there. I think people will very quickly be able to tell whether you are authentically passionate about what you're talking about. And this is going to help you. It's going to sustain your energy levels when you hit those roadblocks and challenges, because you're going to have that innate love for whatever your subject is. So please choose a subject that you can't live without. Okay, tip number 2. Be prepared to invest a lot of time and energy into this. I mean, a lot of time and energy. You need to be prepared to put in the hours, to do the research. Again, if you've chosen a history podcast, some area of history, you need to prepare and do research for each of your episodes. Of course, you'll have to decide whether your podcast is you just giving information, or if it's an interview format like my one, Talking Tudors. Whatever case, whichever you go for, you need to do research. There is nothing worse than listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video where there are a lot of factual errors. And of course, it happens a lot. It does happen a lot. So invest time in researching and studying your subject area. If you are doing interviews, in preparing for those interviews, in finding out a little bit about your guest, if you're having a guest, in structuring the podcast episodes so that you know roughly how it's going to flow. I much prefer natural sounding conversations, but you still need to have a sort of skeleton structure to go off. That's going to make it so much easier when you're recording, whether you're recording on your own or with a guest. But I stress that there needs to be time invested in the research. You need to look for reliable sources. Please don't just rely on, Wikipedia or something along those lines, because your listeners will very quickly know if you do not have sufficient knowledge in this area. So that's why I said make it something that you love, a subject that you love, a subject that you've been studying for a long time. For example, I started Talking Tudors in 2018, and I had already been seriously studying Tudor history since 2009. So a long time, a lot of research under my belt, many hours spent reading and researching and writing articles so be prepared to invest a lot of time and energy into this aspect of the podcast. Okay, my third tip is to enjoy the process of creating and to detach from the outcome. So whatever it is that you've chosen to podcast about, have fun actually creating that content, learning new skills of editing and whatever skill you require for your particular podcast genre. Enjoy that process. Try not to focus on some distant goal out in the future somewhere, like reaching, I don't know, 1 million downloads or, having this many followers. Statistics, yes, are important, and they do get important, especially if you're looking for brand partnerships and sponsorship and all that kind of thing. But to begin with, I would really, really, really highly recommend just focusing on the enjoyment of creating the content, how much you love this subject, how much you want to communicate that with your listeners. Focus on that rather than on becoming, a multi-million-dollar podcast or something along those lines. I think whenever you're intrinsically motivated, so motivated from the inside, rather than looking at some sort of reward that you feel that you're going to get, the process is so much more enjoyable, so much less stressful, and much easier. And again, I feel that genuine interest and passion shines through, and that your listeners actually do sense that when it's really authentic love that you have for your subject, and that's really, really important. Okay, my next tip is to not overspend on equipment, especially at the beginning, because I've seen this before. People get excited, we've all done it. We get enthusiastic about something, spend thousands of dollars on equipment, only to then give up your podcast after a month or two. It's really not necessary. Yes, you want a good sound, of course, but you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars, changing one of the rooms in your house into a studio or anything like that. I never did that. And my podcast is, about to hit 3.6 million downloads. So a good microphone is essential, yes. You might want a pair of headphones. That can be helpful. Editing software, of course, you'll require, but you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, my next tip is to run your own race, to focus on your own journey. It's so easy in this game to get distracted by comparing yourself. Honestly, when has comparison been useful? I don't know. I know if you take sort of official business courses on how to start podcasts, they'll tell you to research your competitor, to listen to everything they do, to see what it is they're doing. I've never done that. I have absolutely never done that. In saying that, I don't have a really strong competitive streak. I think when the universe was handing out that, I was definitely in another queue, probably lined up to buy a book or something along those lines. So that's just not in my nature. And it hasn't hindered me, to be honest with you. I am so busy, I really don't have time to be listening to every other Tudor podcast out there and comparing myself. I know that it's a very human thing to do, to look around and see, oh, look how many followers this person has, or look how many downloads they have. But in the end, it really doesn't matter. Please remember, there are 8 billion people on this planet. There is an audience for you. There absolutely is an audience for you. Keep your focus on your own journey, on improving yourself. So, on improving perhaps your editing skills or your production skills or whatever it is that you want to do. Enjoy the process. Don't compare yourself to others. It only serves to paralyze you, I think. And remember that while comparisons aren't very helpful, networking is, but it has to be authentic networking. So fostering really great relationships, not as a means to an end, not because that person may have 1 million followers or whatever it is, because you're genuinely interested in making connections with your peers and with people that are doing similar things to you. I've been doing this since the beginning. It is one of my favorite parts of this job. I have made many, many wonderful friends from this kind of networking process, that have started as just sort of peers, associates, and that are now my best friends and favorite people in the world. So it's possible to not compete. It's possible to actually help each other, support each other, encourage each other, create a little network of people, just starting out doing what you're doing. That's going to be so important, so helpful to you in the long run. Okay, my next tip is about putting all your focus and energy into creating quality content that serves, that has value. What I mean by that is that it either entertains, we all love those funny reels on Instagram and whatnot, because entertainment and laughter is incredibly valuable. Yours might be a funny podcast, history with a humorous twist or something along those lines. Or it might just be the purpose is to teach, to educate. That is, of course, that's kind of like what my podcast does, to give information. So whatever it is you do, focus on creating quality content. So remember, going back to researching, spending time and investing your time and energy into learning everything you can about your subject area. Now my podcast covers from 1485 to 1603. I try and stay within that range, although you will find me venturing into the 15th century quite a bit, and sometimes past the Tudor period. But one of the lessons I learned was that actually, no, my place is the Tudor period. It's what I love. It's what lights me up. It's where my knowledge lies. And a couple of times that I've gone out of those, I've just thought to myself, no, I need to stick within my range. So, invest your time and energy in developing really quality content that's going to either entertain, to inform, to teach, to help people in some way. It has to have some value, I think. If you're podcasting, it's a service. And my next tip is to commit and to be consistent. Again, I've seen it over the last, how many years has it been? 6 years. I've seen it many times where people start a podcast, spend lots of money on the equipment, and then only last about a month or two. This is not an easy job. I know it might look really fun and easy, but it takes many hours of work. And this is just the podcasting side of what I do. So a level of commitment is required, and consistency, especially when you're just starting out. Work out a schedule that's going to work for you. Are you going to post weekly, fortnightly, monthly, whatever it is, stick to it. This is particularly important when you're beginning your podcast. So I was fortnightly for many years. Now I'm a little bit more flexible and really kind of weekly. However, I think at the beginning, it's very important to be consistent, to stick to your schedule, make sure it's something that you can handle. If you're working full time and you've got a family and a million other things to do, weekly might be too much for you, because remember, you have to record the episodes, you have to edit the episodes, publish, you have to promote them. So find a schedule that suits your lifestyle and the time that you have, and commit to it, stick to it. Tell yourself you're going to do this for 6 months. And then reassess after the 6 months. Stick to a time period. A year would be much better. This is not, as they say, this is not a, one of those fast races. It's a marathon. It takes a long time to build an audience, for people to trust you, to trust the information that you're giving them, to build those connections, for people to see that you're a person of authority in this area, for guests to want to talk to you, all that kind of thing. So pick 6 months, 1 year, you're going to stick to it. You're going to publish 1 episode every month, like clockwork. I don't know, pick a day of the week that's going to be your podcasting day, and really give it that chance, give it that opportunity, and then reassess at the end of that period. Okay, so tip number 8 is to invest a lot of time in building connections with your audience. So once you've put in all that time into developing your content, researching, structuring your podcast episode, getting them out, promoting them, building connections with your audience is crucial. It really is. To me, one of the best parts about this job is the community that I've been able to build, the Talking Tudors community. And I absolutely love it. It means so much to me. It's a big part of my life. So you need to invest time in fostering these relationships. And what I mean by that is responding to people's emails. Listeners will write to you and they'll say, oh, I love that episode. It was wonderful. I might ask you a question. Take the time to respond. Make this part of your work day. At the beginning, you might only need, I don't know, an hour, half an hour to an hour per week to do this. Later, this takes up a lot more time. If you've got online communities, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it may be, and it's highly likely that you will, because this is how you're going to promote your podcast and build these communities, take the time to respond to comments. It can get a bit overwhelming once your community grows, but try really hard to respond to comments, because that's how you're going to build those connections with people. They're going to feel like they know you, they're hearing your voice all the time. So you're like a friend to them. And it is disappointing. I know it's happened to me. If you leave a comment on someone's page and they don't respond, I have to say, sometimes I don't get to all the comments, and I do apologize, but I do try very hard to respond to all emails. So anybody that emails me, if it's a legitimate email, obviously, will get a response. And I try hard as well with comments, at least to acknowledge, just a like or something to acknowledge that that person's there and that they're important to you and the community. But I love this. This is one of the most fun parts of it. Meeting people from around the world who love what you do, who appreciate your work. It's a privilege, and I feel very privileged to be able to do this. So make sure you carve out a little bit of time in your schedule in order to actually foster these relationships. It's so, so important. Okay, tip number 9, please do not let your fears stop you from doing this. All human beings have fears. I have fears, you have fears, we all fear something. Usually, a lot of the time when it's work related, we of course fear that our work won't be good enough, that we're not good enough, that we're going to fail. They're the sort of thoughts that come in. Acknowledge those thoughts. They're very normal. We all have them, and do it anyway. This is your sign. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. The tragedy is not in you attempting something and failing. Big deal. Happens to everyone. What is a real tragedy is if you get to the end of this journey and you did not even try. That, I think, is a much greater tragedy. Yeah, sometimes we do things that don't go very well. Sometimes people are, a little bit critical, negative of what we do. That you have to expect as well. Prepare yourself for that. But I can tell you right now, 95% of comments and people are wonderful, supportive. They can see the work you've put in. They can see your genuine passion, and they will be very enthusiastic about what you're doing. I myself am a textbook introvert and a highly sensitive person. If I can do it, you can do it. Just acknowledge, yes, okay, I'm having that thought that tells me that I'm not good enough, that, I'm an imposter, the good old imposter syndrome. Acknowledge and do it anyway. That's my best tip and advice for you, to at least try and remember to give it that period of time. So don't try for 1 week and think that, oh, I don't have 1 million downloads, so I'm going to give up. That's not enough time. This takes a long time, several years, to be honest, to build excitement around your podcast, for people to anticipate your episodes, for the audience to start growing, for a community to grow around what you're doing. It takes time. So commit, persevere, turn up, do the work, show up, and don't worry about those annoying thoughts. Acknowledge, set aside, deep breath, and just take one small step towards whatever it is that you're wanting to do. That really is a lesson I've learned, that those thoughts are natural, they're part of being human, but they do not need to stop you. And my last tip, and something that, yes, I learned very quickly on this journey, is to take really good care of your well-being and to occasionally unplug. So I think this is a lesson I'm telling myself because I still have trouble with the unplugging part. I don't have seasons. The way my podcast is structured, I just don't have seasons. I don't take extensive breaks. That's not because I'm afraid of anything. It's because I love what I do. So I don't want to. I'm excited to share new information, new podcast episodes. I take a break over the Christmas period of about 3 weeks, usually. Might extend this to 4 weeks, possibly this year. But what I do is look after my well-being. I take good care of it, and I invest time into that aspect of my life. So I love going out for walks. I read novels that have nothing to do with the Tudors. I spend time with my family. I socialize. I watch funny videos, whatever it is that makes you happy, that, just relaxes you. That's what I do. I suppose the idea is to get out of here, to stop thinking. And of course, that can be difficult when you're a creative person. You've got lots of ideas, you've got lots of passion, lots of enthusiasm. But it is so important to just be present, just in this moment, doing something, whatever it is, getting away from the screen. I spend a lot of time on the screen. You'll find that you'll do the same if this is the path you're going to take. So it's going to be really important to, I think, for me, my thing is spending time in nature, going for long walks, reading books that have nothing to do with this period of history, talking to family members and loved ones, just doing other stuff that doesn't involve the internet or a screen. Incredibly important. I think if there's one thing you take away from this, hopefully you'll take that away from it. And lastly, I want to offer one bonus lesson that I've learned. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. Like I said right at the beginning, this is a long journey. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the creating part. Try as much as you can not to focus too much on statistics and numbers. they will have their place and become important later on. But while you're building the foundation of your podcast and of your podcasting career, I would really counsel to just enjoy the creating, invest in delivering quality content, have fun, connect with your audience. Remember that you're doing what you love. What a privilege that is. And slowly, your audience will find you. 8 billion people, everyone. There's enough for all of us to be sharing our love. And I bet there's someone out there that shares yours, exactly whatever it is, whatever your niche is. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any other questions, pop them in the comment box. I plan to do a bit of a series about how I turned my podcast into a full-time job and look at different aspects and things that I've touched on today in more detail. Today, I just wanted to give a kind of general overview of some of the lessons that I've learned. But if you have any questions, don't hesitate to pop them in the comment box. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Take care.